sad truth is that COVID came from the University of North Carolina, which is the leading researcher on beta coronaviruses, working with the U.S. government with the strange idea, ladies and gentlemen, of creating a vaccine for bats. And I have to admit, what I'm about to tell you is only 99% sure. What they wanted to do was to have something that could be put into the air in caves in Southeast Asia that the bats would inhale and then make the bats immune to new infections by these beta coronaviruses. It sounds wild, and it is, but it's a grim truth hidden from view.
This is a big claim. It's the first time that I hear it. Can you tell us a bit more about this, how and why?
The United States did it most likely for the very reason it says in a proposal you can find online, by the way. It's called the Diffuse proposal, submitted to the Defense Department Advanced Research Program. The idea was that American soldiers fight in Southeast Asia. They could get sick from these viruses transmitted by the bats. So we should create vaccines protecting bats from infection. Honestly, only the U.S. Department of Defense could come up with this. Now, because of people who leaked information, we now have a very good record. And what most likely happened is there was a lab accident. So they did these experiments, and then they tested it on the bats that the U.S. has in captivity in the government laboratory in Montana. And the virus worked. It was transmitted in the bats. But there was only one problem, ladies and gentlemen. The kind of bat that the U.S. has in captivity isn't the kind of bat in Southeast Asia. In Montana, they're called Egyptian fruit bats. But the bats in Southeast Asia are called horseshoe bats. Who do you think has those bats in captivity?
China.
The Wuhan Institute of Virology. You just send it by mail. Oops! What happened? Oh, did I stick myself? There was a lab accident in Wuhan. And incidentally, when the virus appeared, the scientists said, my God, someone was tampering with this kind of virus. This looks not natural. And they said that on February 1st, 2020, in a private phone call of the top scientists that was then released by a Freedom of Information Act. And you know what? 4 days later, those same scientists wrote the first draft of a paper saying, this came from nature. That's called a cover-up. And you know what? 4 amino acids that are inserted in this virus don't appear anywhere else in nature in this family of viruses. And in the research proposals for many years, scientists at University of North Carolina and some other places had the idea of putting in that sequence to do certain experiments because they knew it makes the virus most likely much more transmissible and dangerous to people. So they were studying that. And you can find the documents explaining that's the experiment we want to do. And the next thing we know, several years later, 20 million dead.